Hi friends, welcome to QApedia, and this is our blog qapedia.com. Today the topic that we are going to discuss is JavaScript tutorial loops with arrays in JavaScript, and the subtopic that we will discuss are loops with arrays in JavaScript, types of loops with arrays in JavaScript, for loop, for off loop, for in loop, for each, and Array.from, and then summary of the session. So let's start. Loops with arrays in JavaScript. So in our last session, we had seen what is array and what are different array methods and operators. And in this particular session, we are going to see how can we use loops with arrays. So we have already seen different types of loops in JavaScript in one of our previous session, and today we will see that how can we use loops with array. So there are different types of loops that can be used with array. Types of loops with arrays in JavaScript. So let's see how can we use different for loops in JavaScript. For loop, for off loop, for in loop, for each loop, and array.from. So first of all, we'll see for loop. So for loop is like first and foremost thing that we'll see. So we have already seen a normal for loop, that how does it work. Today we'll see how a normal for loop works with array and how can we use the length property of an array in a normal for loop, and we'll run loop for that many times what is the length of the loop. So let's see that. So let's go to a Replit, and then here we can simply copy this. Now what is the syntax of a normal for loop? For let I, and then we'll say I less than. So I less than, what should be the number? I less than what is the number of how many number of elements do we have in this array? 1 2 3 4 5. So five elements are there. So we will want that our this loop should go till the fourth index of this particular uh, array. So we'll write here I less than 5 because 5 elements are there. I less than 5, and then we'll write I plus plus. And then what we can do, we can simply write the definition. I will write here console.log num of I. So this is our array. So we can write here arr, and here also we can write arr. So arr of I. Now let's run it. What is happening? We have done a mistake that we did not initialize it. Let I equals to 0. So now it is printing the value. So we should keep this thing in our mind that we should always initialize the variable. Now we are printing here 5. So 5 is the length of this array also, because we are having 5 element, and we are having one property of we have one operator which is called length, and we can use that particular operator like this, arr dot length. And if suppose we will use that particular operator, then also if we will run it, we will get the same thing. So this is the main thing. Whenever we work with array, then we should use this operator. We should make use of the length operator so that we can iterate our array, because sometimes we will have hundreds of values, thousands of value, and that time we cannot count the number of elements. At that time we can directly use this operator, and we can run through this run through all the elements of the array. So this is our normal for loop, first loop. Then we have for off loop. So for off loop is also a loop where we can get the elements of the array and we can iterate through all the elements. So what is the syntax? For, and then inside that we'll write let we can write anything here. We can write I here, we can write A here, we can write B here. I have simply written ele means element of num or array, element of array, and then we can directly print that particular element here. Okay, let's see it now. For let A of ARR and console.log A, and let's do one thing, let's run it, and yeah, we are able to print all the values. So this of will return the element from the array. Okay, then we have for in loop. If suppose we will write here in, okay, and then if suppose we will then we'll print the value of a, then let's see what happens. Then it is printing 0 1 2 3 4, but we have different values here. So why is it printing 0 1 2 3 4? So this means that this is returning the index of the array. It is not returning the elements of the array. So if suppose we have to pass the elements of the array, then what can we do? We can write it something like this. ARR of A. And then if suppose we will run it, then so first so let's do one thing, let's comment it out. Yeah, and let's only run. Yeah, now it is printing values or elements of the array. So this is how for in loop will work. Now let's talk about for each. So for each loop, actually for each is not a loop, but it is a method. This method acts like a loop because it iterates through all the elements of the array. Now there are three ways how we can use a for each method so that it will work like a loop. Okay, in the first way, what we can do, we can provide a function or a method inside the parenthesis of for each method. So for each is also a method, or for each is also a function. So inside the parenthesis of for each function, we will provide one more function. What does it mean? That means we are providing a function as a parameter to another function, right? We are providing a function to our for each function as a parameter. This thing is called higher order function. So we will see what is higher order function in our coming sessions, so you don't need to worry what is higher order function. We will see that. For now, you just see that when we provide a function as a parameter to another function, that is called higher order function. Okay, so what we are doing, we are providing a function inside the to for each function, and that particular function, whatever we are providing to for each method, will have its own definition or its own body code would be there, and its argument will be an array element. Okay, now let's go ahead and understand, because this theory part will not make sense much until we will see it in coding. So let's do that. So this is our array, and this is our for each method. How do we use it? We will see that. We will write here ARR dot for each, and inside for each we will provide a function, my func. Okay, and then we'll write this function's body. So how do we write function definition? We'll use the keyword called function, then we'll write my func, and inside that we'll provide element, and that's it. And then we'll write here, and yeah, we'll print this particular element. That's it, nothing much. This is how our for each will work. Now what I need to do, I just need to run it, and we are able to print all the values of our array. Okay, so for each is a method. Inside this for each function we are providing another function, and that function definition we have written that we are printing the element of array, and in the argument we are providing an array. We are providing array element. That's it. Then in the second way, what can we use? We can use an arrow function. Okay, now you will ask what is arrow function. So we will discuss what is arrow function as well in our coming session. Right now you just think that there is a function called arrow function, and in this arrow function what can we pass? We can pass array element as an argument to this our arrow function, and then we can write some code inside that arrow function. Okay, how does this arrow function work? So let's see that thing here. So inside a for each loop, what do? We pass a function. Okay, so you just think for a function we always write a parenthesis. Okay, so we are passing a function, we are just writing parenthesis. This is a function. Now we are calling it an arrow function. Why are we calling it arrow function? Because we are writing it something like this. Okay, we are writing an arrow here. Okay, and then what we'll do, yeah, this is how we will write our body. And here in this, inside these curly braces, we'll write some body here, we'll write some code here, we'll write here console dot log, and then we'll print here element. Okay, now one thing that we should consider here, that we will have to pass some or the other parameter here. Okay, just a minute, I have done some mistake here. Inside this again one more function, and here we'll pass our element, and then after this function we'll write this arrow symbol, and then that's it, our work is done. And inside this particular we have written our body. So this is our arrow function parenthesis, and then we have used arrow symbol, that's why we are calling it arrow function. And then what is our body? Console.log ele. So let's just run it and then see, this is working fine. This is how arrow function will work for us, and this is how we can use arrow function for our for each method. So this is how we have used arrow function. What is arrow function? We will see it later also. We'll see it later. For now we are just using it in for each method. Then we can use anonymous function as well. Okay, this is our third way. So what is anonymous function? Anonymous function is a function which does not have any name. Okay, but it will work same like arrow function. Okay, so same thing we are going to do which we have done just now. We'll just remove this particular arrow key. Okay, and we will use function keyword, which we were not using for arrow function. So for arrow function we do not use function keyword, we use arrow keys, and that works for us. But in case of anonymous function we will have to use function keyword, but we don't need to give any name to the function. So yeah, that's it. Now if suppose we will run it, it is going to run for us. So this is how we use our for each loop, for each method, with in three ways. Okay, in three ways we will run it. Now arrays.from. So arrays.from also is a method, is a function, but it is not a loop. What does it do? Arrays.from converts string into an array, and arrays.from returns an array. For example, this array.from will return a character array from a string. Okay. Generally, Array.from method is used when we work with HTML collection. So Array.from will create an array from the HTML collection. Let's see how do we use Array.from. So let's say we have a string with us. Okay, let name equals to QApedia, and then we want to convert this particular string to array. So we can do that. So yeah, that's it. Let name is equals to QApedia, and then now what we'll do, we'll say we'll just convert it. So array.form, and then inside the parenthesis we'll pass name. So we'll write here arrow array dot form, and we'll pass here name. What does it return? It will return a string. It will return an array. So let arr is equals to this. Now we'll just do one thing. Console dot log arr, and console dot log name also will print. So yeah, that's it. Now let's do one thing. Let's run it. So yeah, first we were printing the name, which is a string. It is printing like this. Then we have created one array from this string, and then we are printing that array. This is an array of characters. Q A space P E D D I A. This is how our character array is created. So yeah, that's it. This is how our array with loops works. And let's see the summary of this session. So we have covered different types of loops that we can use with array. Those are for loop, for each loop, array.form, for of loop, and for in loop. So yeah, that's it in the session. Thank you very much, guys.